Good yourself?
Liquor, man. Very well. Thanks. You got dressed up.
Yeah, I've got my blazer on, but I'm not going to show what I look.
Standard lockdown
But
setup. Standard.
yeah.
How's it going, man? It's been a crazy 72 hours, it seems.
Yeah, no, after playing for the frontline workers and patients at GrowZA yesterday, yeah, it's been the media went, the media showed support, and everyone's showing support to what we've done yesterday. So it's been busy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose the question is like, what do you do with that awareness now? Because it's nice, and there's a groundswell and there's positivity. What do you do? What do you guys do with that awareness? I mean, the Philharmonic, I mean, the arts generally, it's come through a really tough period. So I'm leveraging kind of what media is saying is important. What are your guys' plans from here? What are you going to do with the energy now that you're at?
Look, at planning, it was quite a task to plan. The vaccine people that set up and planned this whole city. It was quite a task, and we're busy with our symphony concert, or we just completed our symphony concert recordings as well. At the same time, we also have the 50th anniversary of the Youth Music Festival coming up over the weekend, which will be recorded, and we'll have some audience there. And yeah, it's just, we just carry on with concerts that we need to focus on. But I definitely have to speak to my CEO and hear what's the plans for maybe approaching other hospitals. At the same time, it's a difficult thing because there was no covering or to protect the instruments of the members, and that was quite a worrying thing because their instruments cost a lot. I mean, I'm speaking like a lot. So the value of the instruments is important. So the sun, we need to take the sun in context. We have to, weather is important. So at that moment we had perfect weather, and it was meant to be yesterday, So, but personally for me, I would have a performance as such at every hospital. It was basically our first audience we had, and the atmosphere that was created just by the patients and the doctors and the nurses clapping hands and enjoying the occasion, was just moving for us as performers as well.
Have you ever experienced anything like that before? Have you done anything like that before?
No, I've not experienced that at all.
And that's saying quite a lot, because I mean, you've been all over the world. Like, you've conducted orchestras and been in settings all over the world. Is this, that's amazing that this is something you've never experienced before.
Yeah, I think it's just the platform, and we're going through a pandemic, and just that feeling of people that lost loved ones, the support that doctors need, nurses have, they really need that support. They go through, I mean, they barely go home from their work. I mean, I can just quite imagine. I mean, I lost my mother a couple of months ago because of COVID as well. And what I've seen, with her experience of things, it's quite tough. It's quite tough. You can't say goodbye to the person that you love, and your loved ones. How many people have gone through that? And just to show that support as well, I just think it's a. I mean, you can't describe the pain that goes with that, and what we've given, and the music side of things. I mean, my talent, I mean, that's all I can give is a support of what I can do and what I've done for my past life, and that's music.
How did you get, Brandon? So I mentioned in the post this morning, you're at the top of your field, right? How did you get there? I mean, you from where you from? You look how you look, man. Let me say that too, which is handsome and incredibly good looking and dashing. That's what I meant, obviously. But how did you get there? Because you're young, relatively speaking. How did you get where you are?
Look, it was really. I grew up in Mitchells Plain, Portland. My father was very strict, and I mean, we are New Apostolic, and that's where we attended our church, the New Apostolic Church that was Hazelden in Portland. And my father was a priest at the time, and I was basically forced to go for my first couple of recorder lessons. Pulled by the ear, kicked out of the house on a Saturday morning. Kicked out of the house and said, "Go with your brothers." And I was basically a guy for TV games, a little boy for TV games, loved sport. And I was basically forced to start my music, or forced to introduce to music. My two elder brothers, obviously, they were cool with everything. They went with it. They also did music, Gavin and Ashley. So this is where I started. I started on the recorder. 3 years later, the conductor of the ensemble in our church asked, who wants to start the trumpet? Because he's got 3 trumpets, really old trumpets. It looked like it went through World War II. So he said, "Listen, let's start. I've got 2 trumpets. Let's start trumpet lessons. Who wants to play the trumpet?" And I lifted up my hands. I mean, I didn't know what a trumpet looked, to be honest. I was like, okay, cool. No, let me just do this. And when I had my first lesson, I was like, what did I do? This brass thing, how do you do this? Cutting a long story short, I learned to play the trumpet. My mom then started learning the violin. And at the same time, I also latched onto the violin and viola. My eldest brother learned the cello and the flute. Obviously, when they went to school, I used to play on the. Yeah, sorry, I don't know.
No, strange. No. This is the world we're living in. This is the world we're living in now. So you're saying, he said he's got 2 trumpets. You guys started. You then started with viola and the violin with your mom, and then we got cut off. We got cut off over there. Pick up from there. What happened from there?
Yeah. So basically, my mom started off playing violin because she wanted to be involved with her kids, and playing music. We used to play often Saturday night. We used to play some hymns and really a jam session of. It was a good preparation for the service the Sunday. From there, I went on to bassoon, and I didn't know how bassoon sounds or looks. And I remember Paul Rockman played the bassoon actually, and he asked, "Don't I want to learn the bassoon because he needed a bass instrument in the church?" And that's where I fell in love with the bassoon. And I then auditioned for Beausoleil Music School at the age of 16, and got accepted to study in that music school. Then matric came, and my father told me, "Listen, you're doing terrible at school, Brandon. But one thing for sure, if you pass matric, you can study music." Because he really didn't want us to study music. He wanted us to do music to beautify the Lord's work, basically church. And my goal was obviously, this is the only thing I'm good at, and I really want to study music. And he was always like, "Why didn't you do electrical engineering? Do something that you're going to get a salary." We call it a real job. Musicians call it having a real job. So fortunately, I didn't do well at matric, but my results actually and my contacts I had, I could do my diploma at university, and then therefore afterwards my honors also at the university. So I was really happy about that, when my father actually gave me the right of way to do music.
Amazing. Yeah. So you're a board member of GrowZA, so you understand what we're about. We're all about access. And so you've said a couple of very interesting things relating to access, right? So the first thing is that music teacher at church that happened to have 2 trumpets and said to you, "There's one," right? That's number one. So I want to know about then from there, where did you get access to a violin? You mentioned earlier musical instruments are incredibly expensive, and by virtue of that, quite inaccessible, right? So where do you get that instrument? And then in terms of the bassoon, same question. And then you said you went to GrowZA. I'm assuming that that wasn't free. How did that get paid for? And then UCT, etc., etc. So tell me about those like access points and the people that were connected to that. How did that happen?
Look, my father personally, he basically invested in buying various instruments, and really wanting to keep his kids off the road, basically. You know what I mean? Just latching and trying to guide them in the interest of which is a safe zone for our youngsters and youth. So my father actually basically went to auctions and he basically bought these instruments at times, and really saved money to purchase a more expensive instrument such as the bassoon, because I mean, looking at the bassoon now, it costs 80,000 rand. So firstly, he bought me a trumpet. He bought the violin violas. He bought all the instruments.
Wow.
He gave the money for that. So I'm blessed to have that. The bassoon, on the other hand, because it was so expensive, I
Man,
I don't know.
Maybe we're talking about such heavy topics, man. It's like the lives like
yeah.
Tell me about the bassoon. You were saying how you managed to get your hands on a bassoon.
Yeah, so basically I was renting a bassoon from our church, and then my father really bought the bassoon only once I passed matric, my first year, because then I had to basically rent another bassoon from the music school. So that was my access point to get a bassoon, is to rent it from a music school or a company, basically. And then my father could only purchase me a bassoon, and at that time it was valued to about 45,000 rand. And if you go now, 20 years later, it's quite expensive to purchase one.
So your dad was loaded, basically.
So yeah. Well, no. look, he worked himself up. You know, he worked himself up at the end of the contract.
But he prioritized it. Yeah.
I think so. He did put away money, and he did invest in the little he had at that time. And at the end of the day, he realized, okay, he can't fight me anymore because I'm going to study music. And I was always like, I need an instrument. And I was really shocked out of my mind when he purchased me one, you know, when I got it on my bed, I can remember that. And yeah, I was blown away. But yeah, amazing. I think that was and then he said, I'm done with you now. I'm done with you.
Then university came. So how did you get to university? I mean, UCT, that accent doesn't come cheap.
No. Look, at the end of the day, my reason for studying music wasn't to be a professional musician. Wasn't to, I mean, I would never dream of playing in an orchestra at that time. It was basically to teach our members in church, because in my first year, I had about 4 violin students, aged 45, 50 years old. That was their ages. I had 7 younger youth students at the time as well, and also very active with the orchestras in our area as Athlone district. So my aim was just to get knowledge and learn the trade and study to be able to take it back to the church and back home. In my 3rd year, my honors year, I actually had a kidney problem, and my kidney was taken out. Apparently there was a reason, because it shrunk, and no one, I mean, I didn't really notice that just when the pain started. I obviously was the rush to hospital for this. So so got my kidney taken out. I have 1 kidney, and then the job was advertised as sub-principal bassoonist in the Cape Philharmonic Orchestra. So I had basically 4 months to recover. And then I went for the audition, and I won the audition. And this is when that happened, you know, the catalyst from UCT to a professional orchestra happened. And at the same time, I did my honors whilst working at the Cape Philharmonic as well. So that was quite hectic to study and work at the same time.
And where did you see that ad? Was that something? So you're saying you weren't looking out for it, right? I was reading the article posted today as well. So you weren't looking out for this. Where did was the article passed on to you? Where did you hear about this opportunity?
Actually, my teacher at that time, he was the principal bassoonist of the orchestra. And he also just won the principal post.
Connections. And
he actually told me, Brandon, you're gonna get this job. So we're gonna work you, and and I got the job.
Wow.
I didn't want to let him down, so I had no other choice.
And you haven't left. How long ago was that now?
2001. So it's almost 20 years. Over 20 years, I'm working for the orchestra. Yeah.
That is crazy. Crazy. Sure. And I mean, so you go, tell me about your first day on the job, because it must be completely mind-blowing. Or was it just another orchestra kind of practice, orchestra setup, rehearsal? I mean, what was that first day like, walking in there? Because I'm now a professional musician. This is what I do.
Yeah. Oh, no. You need to prove yourself. That's how it works in the orchestra. You sit on your chair. If you play a wrong note, you're going to have someone commenting at the back saying, like, I played a wrong note, and then I just heard a comment from I don't want to say from the heavens, but maybe from hell. and this person said, oh my word, what have we got now? You know what I mean? So automatically, because I played a wrong note, everyone goes, we know who that was. And they look at you. It's quite ruthless in the music world at the start. But that also obviously just woke me up, and I'm like, you don't make a mistake. You don't, there's no mistakes allowed. You play with your section, you respect your principal player, which was my teacher at that time as well. So basically I was taught on the job, if you know what I mean, because I had a teacher that was basically teaching me at UCT and also in the orchestra. So you just coach me and carry me through. His name was Toto Balkanjev. He passed away years ago of cancer. But it's ruthless. It's for a freshman. Don't think it's just, you won the job and you can just come sit on the chair. Orchestral playing is basically a skill. It's about your experience. You need experience to be able to do that. So
I'm assuming then, like any professional kind of vocation, like music or sport, I think in particular, this is not something when kind of 5 o'clock strikes, and again, you don't hold normal hours, obviously, but at the end of the day isn't the end of the day, because you go back and you're like, hey, I need to fix up this section, or I struggled there, or so music literally becomes your life.
Yeah, people, I mean, even my parents, when I started singing music, when I started my job, even my wife, even my family around me, they really couldn't understand what or how the orchestra works, or how my life works actually, because I would have a 3-hour session rehearsal from 10, for example, 10 till 1, come home, have another rehearsal, maybe 2 till 5, I have another rehearsal, that's 6 hours, and then I'm done working. But that's not done working. Absolutely. That was just a rehearsal. I have to go home to practice for another 3 to 4 hours a day. So that's quite challenging, and especially me doing conducting as well. So the only time I have to mark scores and practice bassoon is when I'm running out of hours in the day. So the more responsibilities you have, you basically have to sacrifice your sleep. You have to sacrifice so much just to try to get that extra penny and look after your family financially. Obviously.
The opportunities to travel internationally, I suppose some of those are built into being part of a professional orchestra setup. There'd be 1 or 2 opportunities that would come, but you've had opportunities above and beyond that. How did that come about?
I was fortunate to win the first Len van Zyl competition. I think that was in 2010. And that gave me the winnings, or the prize was actually studying in America for a term. So going away for 3 months. I was in Philadelphia for 1 month, really sitting in every rehearsal and concert of the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah.
I also received a masterclass on bassoon from the principal bassoonist there, Daniel Matsukawa. He's still principal over there in Philadelphia Symphony. And then the second month, for the other 2 months, I went to Northwestern College to study conducting under Victor Jampolsky, which was in charge of the panel for the competition. So basically I was back at university in 2010 and getting lessons with conducting and bassoon playing as well.
Yeah.
The other times, I mean, I went to St. Helena Island when I was in high school for 3-4 months, and that was for our church also, just to establish the music side of things.
Okay.
I went to China because we had a collaboration with the embassy at that time, having concerts in China. I went to Vienna for masterclasses. I went to Holland for masterclasses with Aryan team after the American prize competition winning.
Yeah.
And then I think the big one was a tour with Miyagi, where I was fortunate to conduct in Berlin and in Amsterdam in Concertgebouw, which is the most beautiful hall. And this is where all the composers, or most composers, really performed, and all the famous conductors, they performed in the Concertgebouw. You know, walking down the stairs. I mean, if you can just do some research, it's really stairs that I don't know how many meters, but it's quite steep, and the conductor has to walk down all the way down onto the podium, you know? And I think I was more nervous for that walk than the concert because it's quite steep and you don't want to fall and everyone's seeing you.
Yeah.
So,
oh wow.
Yeah, I was fortunate to experience things from, as I would say, that really good and high class musicians has experienced. And they lived through that. And also I was invited to conduct the German Youth Orchestra 2 years ago for the Beethoven Festival, which was fantastic to work. We were in Bonn and in Berlin for a concert. And that was also a great experience to work with youngsters and youth, and looking at the levels that they are at, and compare it to the levels where our youth are at. So there we know exactly where we need to work towards and what we need to feed our youngsters. You know?
What's the pipeline looking like? I mean, you work with the Cape Philharmonic Orchestra now. What's the pipeline of talent looking like? What are you seeing? What are you experiencing? What are you excited about? Where do we need to kind of do more work?
Because of COVID and the lockdown, I was quite stressful about that. I was really concerned about what the kids are doing in this situation. Are they working? Are they practicing? Because it's very easy just to lose interest and just go, it's not worth it because we're not rehearsing together as much. So my first couple of rehearsals, when we went back to level 3 and 2 now, it's they showed interest and they sound better. Our goal is now to rehearse for the gala concert happening the end of the year. And what do our kids need? Our kids need the support of parents. Also financial support, because some of them are renting, as I mentioned earlier, what I had to do, I had to rent an instrument. So some of them are renting instruments, or if they're playing on instruments, it's actually not quality instruments. So you have a potential fantastic violinist, that you can see this little boy works hard, but the instrument keeps him down. So that's one of the major concerns is how to access musical instruments and how we can make it accessible for the parents to afford these instruments.
Yeah.
That's one point. The other point is tuition. The other main thing is tuition. Where do we send our kids for tuition? Do we apply at music schools like I did? Went to Bosele at Hugo Lambes. even at the Cape Philharmonic outreach program that has a teaching program going on, can the parents afford that? Again, affordability. Again, funds we need for motivation for our kids, for our youth of tomorrow. You know, so yeah, I see a bright future because I'm working with kids that are, you know, that had access to tuition. You know, the parents really pocketed, they really dealt in they put their hand in the pockets and they gave towards the investment for the child, knowing that the child will work hard and, you know, reach a certain level and the goal in his life or her life. So that's the major question. It all starts at home. It starts with the parents. You have to look at that situation, and then if they're interested, then yes, let's try to give them access to that instrument or to that tuition, and this will possibly motivate a youngster to carry on.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and
I mean,
and become a good.
No, I hear you. I mean, I also dare say that yes, it starts with the parents and it starts in the home. I think we know that isn't that both you and I have been very fortunate to come out of stable environments and nurturing and supportive environments. That's not the case for everyone. So I dare say, Brandon, like who you are and what you symbolize as a role model. I mean, from Portland's to Concertgebouw, right? Is an amazing, it's a Cinderella story in a sense. And I know that we are primed to show like humility and like, no, not really, you know, we downplay it a little bit, but I think from an access point as well, to your point, it's about, yes, the musical instruments, that's important, access to that, getting almost innovative financing also around rental of the instruments and access to instruments and so on. Getting kids access to quality tuition and safe environments where they can practice and kind of own their craft. But I think also just conversations like these and your story around saying, hey, listen, you can do this too. It's going to be a different route, possibly. It's going to take a different amount of time. But the reality is it should actually take potentially even less time now, because we have people on the inside. And I think that's what's so powerful, opening up that network. It was very interesting what you said about kind of landing in that seat and hearing the maybe comments that's also testing you. So it's an environment that's saying, listen, this is about excellence and so on. But there may be other stuff kind of behind those comments as well, you know. And I'm sure you've seen people leave seats, come into seats and leave seats as well. So yeah, I mean, I think as we come to the end of this, Brandon, maybe just a question like, what does the future look like for you? What do you want to see with the Youth Philharmonic Orchestra, with young people? Where's your heart at in terms of the future?
I think working with youth orchestras and having this experience with many youth orchestras, the only way that music will live on, personally, I believe, only way music will live on is through our youth, because like I said, they are the people for tomorrow. So if we don't invest in our youngsters, in our youth, in any company or in any environment or any, especially music, concerning music, because 10 years ago we said, music is dying in Cape Town. You know, we're concerned about our jobs, even we are still concerned about our jobs. But if we invest in the youngsters, and that's my goal, just keep the chain from growing and not having that cut of our arts. It's not only classical music, it's all the arts basically that I'm concerned about. Because if we don't get that support, and we don't train our young people of the day, then it's just going to die away. Unfortunately, it has been proven that over years already. If we don't keep going, training our youngsters, it will die. And that's where my goal is. I want to have another generation for my children one day, where they can enjoy a symphony concert, enjoy a beautiful ballet, enjoy an opera, you know,
Mm.
where they can learn and say, oh, daddy was part of that one. You know, if I'm not there one day, daddy was part of that. You know,
Absolutely.
I want that to still live on for everyone, basically.
That's beautiful. I mean, a comment in closing, Brandon. We aren't at liberty to say too much here in terms of what we have planned and some of the conversations that we are part of and so on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the potential of that and where that's going, because I think it's also about how the content is delivered. Because some of the time it could be that the classical form of music can be viewed to be inaccessible and unrelatable and so on. I mean, you again were fortunate to grow up in an environment where you were almost conditioned and primed for it. And I think conversations we're having with GrowZA around how do we make the delivery kind of more accessible, and the career paths and the professional development aspect, opening that up. So I'm really excited. I want to thank you, man, for taking time. I know it's crazy. Thank you for putting on a blazer. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. I'm just getting hot now.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so all the very best. You have our support, and you have our admiration as well. Like, what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
So I don't know, any words in closing from your side?
Yeah, look, let the music play on. That's all I have to say from my side, from me to you and to everyone else. Let the music play on. As we saw yesterday, how music can touch people, can really motivate even our front line workers, as that our patients in the hospital that undergoes so difficult times, music can touch. So all I can say, let the music play.
And thanks so much, brother.
Thank you.
Chat soon.
Thank you, Craig.
Go well, man. See you.
You.